by the personified Vedas. Of the Vedas, the matters from the Narad, the Yastev, and then he is the ultimate goal of the Vedas. A neophyte devotee may question if the ultimate goal of life or the conclusion of the Vedas is to elevate oneself to the platform of devotional service, then why is it observed that a devotee of Lord Vishnu is generally not very prosperous materially, whereas a devotee of Lord Shiva is found to be very opulent? In order to clarify this matter, Pariksit Maharaj asked Shukdev Goswami, "My dear Shukdev Goswami, it is generally found that those who engage in the worship of Lord Shiva, whether in human, demoniac, or demigod society, become materially very opulent, although Lord Shiva himself lives just like a poverty-stricken person. On the other hand, devotees of Lord Vishnu, who is the controller of the gods of fortune, do not prosperous. At times, they are even found living without any material opulence at all. Lord Shiva lives underneath a tree or in the snow of the Himalayan mountains. He does not even construct a house for himself. But still, the worshippers of Lord Shiva are very rich. Krishna, or Lord Vishnu, however, lives very opulently, whether Kunta or in this material world, but his devotees appear poverty-stricken. Why is this so? Maharaj Parikshit's question is very intelligent. The two classes of devotees, namely the devotees of Lord Shiva and the devotees of Lord Vishnu, are always in disagreement. Even today in India, these two classes of devotees still criticize each other, and especially in South India, the followers of Ramanujacharya and the followers of Shankaracharya hold occasional meetings for understanding the Vedic conclusion. Generally, the followers of Ramanujacharya come out victorious in such meetings. So Pariksit Maharaj wanted to clarify the situation by asking this question of Shukdev Goswami, that Lord Shiva lives as a poor man, although his devotees appear very opulent, whereas Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu is always opulent, and yet his devotees appear poverty-stricken, is a situation which appears contrary and puzzling to a discriminating person. Replying to King Parikshit's inquiry, Shukdev Goswami said that Lord Shiva is the master of the material energy. The material energy is represented by goddess Durga, and because Lord Shiva happens to be her husband, goddess Durga is completely under his subjugation. Thus, Lord Shiva is understood to be the master of this material energy. energy. The material energy is manifested in three qualities, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. And therefore Lord Shiva is the master of these three qualities. Although he is in association with these qualities for the benefit of the conditioned soul, Lord Shiva is the director and is not affected. Although the conditioned soul is affected by the three qualities, Lord Shiva, being the master of these qualities, is not. From the statements of Shukdev Goswami, we can understand that acts of worshipping different demigods are not, as some less intelligent persons suppose, the same as the effects of worshipping Lord Vishnu. He clearly states that by worshipping Lord Shiva, one achieves one reward, whereas by worshipping Lord Vishnu, one achieves a different reward. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Those who worship the different demigods achieve the desired results the respective demigods can reward. Similarly, those who worship the material energy receive the suitable reward for such activities, and those who worship the Pitas receive similar results. But those who engage in devotional service or worship the Supreme Lord, Vishnu, or Krishna, go to the Vaikuntha planets or Krishna Loka. One cannot approach the transcendental region or Paravayoma, the spiritual sky, by worshipping Lord Shiva or Brahma or any other demigod. Since this material world is a product of the three qualities of material nature, all varieties of manifestations come from those three qualities. With the aid of materialistic science, modern civilization has created many machines and comforts, yet they are only varieties of the interactions of the three material qualities. Although the devotees of Lord Shiva are able to obtain many material acquisitions, we should know that they are simply collecting products manufactured by the three qualities. The three qualities are again subdivided into 16, namely the 10 senses, 5 working senses, and 5 knowledge-acquiring senses, the mind, and the 5 elements, earth, water, air, fire, and sky. These 16 items are further extent of the three qualities. Material happiness or opulence means gratification of the senses, specifically the genitals, the tongue, and the mind. By exercising our minds, we create many pleasurable things just for enjoyment by the genitals and the tongue. The opulence of a person within this material world is estimated in terms of his exercise of the genitals and the tongue, or in other words, how well he is able to utilize his sexual capacities and how well he is able to satisfy his fastidious taste by eating palatable dishes. Material advancement of civilization necessitates creating objects of enjoyment by mental concoction just to be happy on the basis of these two principles: pleasures for the genitals and pleasures for the tongue. Herein lies the answer to Kit's question to Shukdev Goswami as to why the worshippers of Lord Shiva are so opulent. The devotees of Lord Shiva are only opulent in terms of the material qualities. Actually, such so-called advancement of civilization is the cause of entanglement in material existence. It is actually not advancement, but degradation. The conclusion is that because Lord Shiva is the master of the three qualities, his devotees are given things manufactured by the interactions of these qualities for the satisfaction of the senses. In the Bhagavad Gita, however, we get instruction from Lord Krishna that one has to transcend the qualitative existence. Nishtragunyo Bhavarjana. The mission of human life is to become transcendental to the three qualities. Unless one is Nishtragunya, he cannot get free from material entanglement. In the favors received from Lord Shiva are not actually beneficial to the conditioned souls, although such facilities seem opulent. Shukdev Goswami continued, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hare, is transcendental to the things of material nature. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that anyone who surrenders unto him surpasses the control of the three qualities of material nature. Therefore, since Hari's devotees are transcendental to the control of the three material qualities, certainly he himself is transcendental. It is stated, therefore, in the Srimad Bhagavatam that Hare, or Krishna, is the original Supreme Personality. There are two kinds of prakritis, or potencies, namely the internal potency and the external potency. And Krishna is the overlord of both. He is Sarvadrik, or the overseer of all the actions of the internal and external potencies. And he is also described as Upadrashta, the supreme advisor. Because he is the supreme advisor, he is above all the demigods who merely follow the directions of the supreme advisor. As such, if one directly follows the instructions of the Supreme Lord, as inculcated in the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, then one gradually becomes nirguna, or above the interactions of the material quality. To be nirguna means to be bereft of material opulences, because, as we have explained, material opulence means an increase of the actions and reactions of the three material qualities. By worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in staying puffed up with material opulences, one becomes enriched with spiritual advancement of knowledge in Krishna consciousness. To become nirguna means to achieve eternal peace, fearlessness, religiousness, knowledge, and renunciation. All these are symptoms of becoming free from the contamination of the material qualities. Shukdev Goswami, in answering Parikshit Maharaj's question, went on to cite a historical instance regarding Parikshit Maharaj's grandfather, King Yudhishthir. He said that after finishing the Ashvamedha sacrifice in the great sacrificial arena, King Yudhishthir, in the presence of great authorities, inquired on that very same point. How is it that the devotees of Lord Shiva become materially opulent, whereas the devotees of Lord Vishnu do not? Shukdev Goswami specifically referred to King Yudhishthira as your grandfather, so that Maharaj Parikshit would be encouraged to think that he was related to Krishna and that his grandfathers were intimately connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although Krishna is always very satisfied by nature, when Maharaj Yudhishthira asked this question, the Lord became even more satisfied, because these questions and their answers would bear great meaning for the entire Krishna-conscious society. When the Lord Krishna speaks about something to a specific devotee, it is meant not only for that devotee, but for the entire human society. Instructions by the Supreme Personality of Godhead are important even to the demigods headed by Lord Brahma, Lord Śiva, and others. And one who does not take advantage of the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who descends within this world for the benefit of all living entities, is certainly very unfortunate. Lord Krishna answered the question of Maharaj Yudhishthira as follows: if I am a devotee and especially wish to care for him, the first thing I do is take away his riches. When the devotee becomes a penniless pauper or is put into a comparatively poverty-stricken position, his relatives and family members no longer take interest in him, and in most cases they give up their connection with him. The devotee then becomes doubly unhappy. First of all, he becomes unhappy because his riches have been taken away by Krishna, and he is made even more unhappy when his relatives desert him because of his poverty. We should note, however, that when a devotee falls into a miserable condition in this way, it is not due to past impious activities known as karma phala. The poverty of the devotee is a creation of the personality of Godhead. Similarly, when a devotee becomes materially opulent, that is also due to his pious activities. In either case, whether the devotee becomes poorer or richer, the arrangement is made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This arrangement is especially made by Krishna for his devotee, just to make him completely dependent upon him and to free him from all material obligations. He can then concentrate his energies, mind and body, everything, the service of the Lord, and that is pure devotional service. In the Narad Pancharatra, it is therefore explained, Sarvopadi Vinir Muktam, which means being freed from all designations. Works performed for family, society, community, nation, or humanity are all designated. I belong to this society. I belong to this unity. I belong to this nation. I belong to this species of life. Such identities are all merely nations. When by the grace of the Lord, a devotee is freed from all designations, his devotional service is actually Naishkarma. Jnanis are very attracted by the position of Naishkarma, in which one's actions no longer have material effect. When the devotee's actions are freed from effects, they are no longer in the category of karma palam, fruitive activities. As explained before by the personified Vedas, the happiness and distress of a devotee are produced by the personality of Godhead, and the devotee therefore does not care whether he is in happiness or in distress. He goes on with his duties in executing devotional service. Although his behavior seems to be subject to the actions and reactions actions of fruitive activities, he is actually freed from the results of action. It may be questioned why a devotee is put to tribulation by the personality of Godhead. The answer is that this kind of arrangement by the Lord is just like a father's sometimes becoming unkind to his sons, because the devotee is a surrendered soul and is taken charge of by the Supreme Lord. Whenever the Lord puts him into any condition of life, either in distress or in happiness, it is to be understood that behind this arrangement is a large plan designed by the personality of Godhead. For example, Lord Krishna put the Pandavas into a distressed condition so acute that even grandfather Bhishma could not comprehend how such distress could occur. He lamented that although the whole Pandava family was headed by King Yudhishthira, the most pious king, and protected by the two great warriors, Bhima and Arjuna, and although, above all, the Pandavas were all intimate friends and relatives of Lord Krishna, they still had to undergo such tribulations. Later, however, it was proved that this was planned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as part of his great mission to annihilate the miscreants and protect the devotees. A question may be raised. Since a devotee is put into different kinds of happy and distressful conditions by the arrangement of the personality of God, and a common man is put into such conditions as a result of his past deeds, then what is the difference? How is the devotee any better than the ordinary karmi? The answer is that the karmis and the devotees are not on the same level. In whatever condition of life the karmi may be, he continues in the cycle of birth and death. The seed of karma, or fruit of activity, is there, and it fructifies whenever there is an opportunity. By the law of karma, a common man is perpetually entangled in repeated birth and death, whereas a devotee's distress and happiness, not being under the laws of karma, are part of a temporary arrangement by the Supreme Lord, which does not entangle the devotee. Such an arrangement is made by the Lord only to serve a temporary purpose. If a karmi performs auspicious act, he is elevated to the heavenly planets, and if he acts impiously, he is put into a hellish condition. But whether a devotee acts in a so-called pious or impious manner, he is neither elevated nor degraded, but is transferred to the spiritual kingdom. Therefore, a devotee's distress and a karmi's happiness and distress are not on the same level. This fact is corroborated by a speech by Yamaraj to his servants in connection with the liberation of Ajamil. Yamaraj advised his followers, persons who have never uttered the holy name of the Lord, nor remembered the form, quality, and pastimes of the Lord, should be approached by his watchguards. Yamaraj also advised his servants never to approach the devotees. On the contrary, he instructed his messengers that if they meet a devotee, they should offer their respectful obeisances. So there is no question of a devotee's being promoted or degraded within this material, as there is a gulf of difference between the punishment awarded by the mother and the punishment awarded by an enemy. So a devotee's distress is not the same as the the distress of a common karma. Here another question may be raised. If God is all, why should he try to reform his devotee by putting him in distress? The answer is that when the Supreme Personality of Godhead puts his devotee in distress, it is not without purpose. Sometimes the purpose is that in distress, a devotee's feelings of attachment to Krishna are magnified. For example, when Krishna, before leaving the camp of the Pandavas for his home, was asking for permission to leave, Kunti Devi said, "My dear Krishna, in our distress, you are always present with us. Now, because we have been elevated to a royal position, you are leaving us. I would therefore prefer to live in distress than to lose you." When a devotee is put in a situation of distress, his devotional activities are accelerated. Therefore, to show special favor to a devotee, the Lord sometimes puts him in distress. Besides that, it is stated that the sweetness of happiness is sweeter to those who have tasted bitterness. The Supreme Lord descends to this material world just to protect his devotees from distress. In other words, if devotees were not in a distressed condition, the Lord would not have come down. As for his killing the demons or the miscreants, this can be easily done by his various energies, just as many asuras are killed by his external energy, goddess Durga. Therefore the Lord does not need to come down personally to kill such demons. But when his devotee is in distress, he must come. Lord Nrsingadev appeared not to kill Hiranyakashipu, but to see Prahlad and to give him blessings. In other words, because Prahlad Maharaj was put into very great distress, the Lord appeared. When after the dense dark night there is finally sunrise in the morning, it is very pleasant. When there is scorching heat, cold water is very pleasant. And when there is freezing winter, hot water is very pleasant. Similarly, when a devotee, after experiencing the condition of the material world, relishes the spiritual happiness awarded by the Lord, his position is still more pleasant and enjoyable. The Lord continued, "When my devotee is bereft of all material riches, and is deserted by his relatives and family members, because he has no one to look after him, he completely takes shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord." Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung in this connection, "My dear Lord Krishna, O son of Nanda Maharaj, you are now standing before me with Srimati Radharani, the daughter of King Vrishabhanu. I am now surrendering unto you. Please accept me. Please do not kick me away. I have no shelter other than you." When a devotee is thus put into so-called miserable conditions and bereft of riches and family, he tries to revive his original position of material opulence. But although he tries again and again, Krishna again and again takes away all his resources. Thus he finally becomes disappointed in material activities. And in that stage of frustration in all endeavors, he can fully surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such persons are advised by the Lord from within to associate with devotees. By associating with devotees, they naturally become inclined to render service to the personality of Godhead, and they immediately get all facilities from the Lord to advance in Krishna consciousness. The non-devotees, however, are very careful about preserving their material condition of life. Generally, therefore, such non-devotees do not come to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but worship Śiva or other demigods for immediate material profit. In the Bhagavad Gita it is said, therefore, Kankshanta karmanam siddham yajanta iha devata. The karmis, in order to achieve success within this material, worship the various demigods. It is also stated by Lord Krishna that those who worship the demigods are not mature in their intelligence. The devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, therefore, because of their strong attachment for him, do not foolishly go to the demigods. Lord Krishna said to King Yudhishthira, "My devotee is not deterred by any adverse conditions of life. He always remains firm and steady. Therefore I give myself to him, and I favor him so that he can achieve the highest success of life." The mercy bestowed upon the tried devotee by the Supreme Personality is described as Brahman, which indicates that the greatness of that mercy can be compared only to the all-pervasive greatness. Brahman means unlimitedly great and unlimitedly expanding. That mercy is also described as Param, for it has no comparison within this material world. And it is also called Shukshmam, very fine. Not only is the Lord's mercy upon the tried devotee great and unlimitedly expansive, but it is of the finest quality of transcendental love between the devotee and the Lord. Such mercy is further described as Chin Matram, completely spiritual. The use of the word Matram indicates absolute spirituality with no tinge of material qualities. That mercy is also called Sat, eternal, and Anandam, unlimited. Since the devotee of the Lord is awarded such unlimited spiritual benefit, why should he worship the demigods? A devotee of Krishna does not worship Lord Shiva or Brahma or any other subordinate demigod. He deeply devotes himself to the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Shukdev Goswami continued, the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, and including Lord Indra, Chandra, and others, are apt to be very quickly satisfied and very quickly angered by the good and ill behavior of their devotees. But this is not so with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. This means that any living entity within this material world, including the demigods, is conducted by the three modes of material nature, and therefore the qualities of ignorance and passion are very prominent within the material world. Those devotees who take blessings from the demigods are also infected with the material qualities, especially passion and ignorance. Lord Sri Krishna has therefore stated in the Bhagavad Gita that to take blessings from the demigods is less intelligent, because when one takes benedictions from the demigods, the results of benedictions are temporary. It is easy to get material opulence by worshiping the demigod, but the result is sometimes disastrous. As such, the benedictions derived from demigods are appreciated by the less intelligent class of men. Persons who derive benedictions from the demigods gradually become puffed up with material opulence and neglectful of their benefits. Shukdev Goswami addressed Parikshit thus: My dear king, Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva, the principal trio of the material creation, are able to bless or curse anyone. Of this trio, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are very easily satisfied, but also very easily angered. When satisfied, they give benedictions without consideration, and when angry, they curse the devotee without consideration. But Lord Vishnu is not like that. Lord Vishnu is very considerate. Whenever a devotee gets something from Lord Vishnu first considers whether such a benediction will ultimately be good for the devotee. Lord Vishnu never bestows any benediction which will ultimately prove disastrous to the devotee. By his transcendental nature, he is always merciful. Therefore, before giving any benediction, he considers whether it will prove beneficial for the devotee. Since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always merciful, even when it appears that he has killed a demon, or even when he apparently becomes angry toward a devotee, his actions are always auspicious. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is therefore known as all good. Whatever he does is good. As for the benedictions given by the demigods, like Lord Shiva, there is the following historical incident cited by great sages. Once, Lord Shiva, after giving a boon to a demon named Vṛkāsura, the son of Shakuni, was himself entrapped in a very dangerous position. Vṛkāsura was searching after a benediction and trying to decide which of the three presiding deities to worship in order to get it. In the meantime, he happened to meet the great sage Narada and consulted with him as to whom he should approach to achieve quick results from his austerity. He inquired, three deities, namely Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva, who is most quickly satisfied? Narad could understand of the demon, and he advised him, you had better worship Lord Shiva. Then you will quickly get the desired result. Lord Shiva is very quickly satisfied and very quickly dissatisfied also. So you try to satisfy Lord Shiva. Narad also cited instances wherein demons like Ravan and Vṛkāsura were enriched with great opulences simply by satisfying Lord Shiva with prayers. Because the great sage Narad was aware of the nature of the Asura, he did not advise him to approach Vishnu or Lord Brahma. Persons such as Vṛkāsura, who are situated in the material mode of ignorance cannot stick to the worship of Vishnu. After receiving instruction from Narad, the demon Vṛkāsura, the pilgrimage site of Kedarnath, still exists near Kashmir. It is almost always covered by snow, but for part of the year, during the month of July, it is possible to see the deity go there to offer their respects. Kedarnath is for the devotees of Lord Shiva. According to the Vedic principle, when something is offered to the deities to eat, it is offered in a fire. Therefore, a fire sacrifice is necessary in all sorts of ceremonies. It is specifically stated in the Shastras that gods are to be offered something to eat to fire. The demon Vṛkāsura therefore went to Kedarnath and ignited a sacrificial fire to please Lord Shiva. After igniting the fire in the name of Shiva, he began to offer his own flesh by cutting it from his body to please Lord Shiva. Here is an worship in the mode of ignorance. In the Bhagavad Gita, different types of sacrifice are mentioned. Some sacrifices are in the mode of goodness, some are in the mode of passion, and some are in the mode of ignorance. There are different kinds of tapasya and worship, because there are different kinds of people within this world. But the ultimate tapasya, Krishna consciousness, is the topmost yoga and the topmost sacrifice. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, the topmost yoga is to think always of Lord Krishna within the heart, and the topmost sacrifice is to perform the Santan Yajna. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the worshippers of the demigods have lost their intelligence. As revealed later in this chapter, Vṛkāsura wanted to satisfy Lord Shiva for a third-class materialistic objective, which was temporary and without real benefit. The asuras, or persons within the mode of ignorance, will accept such benedictions from the demigods. In complete contrast to this sacrifice in the mode of ignorance, the Archana Vidhi process for worshipping Lord Vishnu or Krishna is very simple. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that he accepts from his devotees even a little fruit, a flower, or some water, which can be gathered by any person, rich or poor. Of course, those who are rich are not expected to offer only a little water, a little piece of fruit, or a little leaf to the Lord. A rich man should offer according to his position. But if the devotee happens to be a very poor man, the Lord will accept even the most meager offering. The worship of Lord Vishnu or Krishna is very simple, and it can be executed by anyone in this world. But worship in the mode of ignorance, as exhibited by Vṛkāsura, is not only very difficult and painful, but is also a useless waste of time. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita says that the worshippers of the demigods are bereft of intelligence. Their process of worship is very difficult, and at the same time, the result obtained is flickering and temporary. Although Vṛkāsura continued his vice for 6 days, he was unable to personally see Lord Śiva, which was his objective. He wanted to see him face to face and ask for a benediction. Here is another contrast between a demon and a devotee. A devotee is confident that whatever he offers the deity in full devotional service is accepted by the Lord. But a demon wants to see his worshipable deity face to face so that he can directly take the benediction. A devotee does not worship Vishnu or Lord Krishna for any benediction. Therefore, a devotee is called a kam, free of desire, and a non-devotee is called sarvakam, or desirous of everything. On the 7th day, the demon Vṛkāsura decided that he should cut off his head and offer it to satisfy Lord Śiva. Thus he took a bath in the nearby lake, and without drying his body and hair, he prepared to cut off his head. According to Vedic system, an animal to be offered as a sacrifice has to be bathed first, and while the animal is wet, it is sacrificed. When the demon was thus preparing to cut off his head, Lord Śiva became very compassionate. This compassion is a symptom of the quality of goodness. Lord Śiva is called Trilinga. Therefore, his manifestation of the nature of compassion is a sign of the quality of goodness. This compassion, however, is present in every living entity. The compassion of the was aroused because the demon was offering his flesh to the sacrificial fire. This is natural compassion. Even if a common man sees preparing to commit suicide, it is his duty to try to save him. He does so automatically. There is no need to appeal to him. Therefore, when Lord Śiva appeared fire to check the demon from suicide, it was not a very great favor to him. Lord Shiva's touch saved the demon from committing suicide. His bodily injuries immediately healed, and his body became as it was before. Then Lord Śiva told the demon, "My dear Vṛkāsura, you do not need to cut off your head. You may ask from me any benediction you like, and I shall fulfill your desire. I do not know why you wanted to cut off head to satisfy me. I become satisfied even by offering of a little water. Actually, according to the Vedic process, the Shiva Linga or the form of Lord Shiva in the temple is worshipped simply by offering Ganges water, because it is said that Lord Shiva is greatly satisfied when Ganges water poured upon his head. Generally, devotees offer Ganges water and the leaves of the bilva tree, which are especially meant for offering to Lord Shiva and the goddess Ga. The fruit of this tree is also offered to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva assured Vṛkāsura that he is satisfied by a very simple process of worship. Why then was he so anxious to cut off his head? And why was he taking so much pain by cutting his body to pieces, offering it in the fire? There was no need of such severe penances. Anyway, out of compassion and sympathy, Lord Shiva prepared to give him any benediction he liked. When the demon was offered this facility by Lord Shiva, he asked for a fearful and abominable benediction. The demon was very sinful, and sinful persons do not know what sort of diction should be asked from deity. Therefore, he asked Lord Shiva to be blessed with such power that as soon as he would touch anyone's head, it would immediately crack, and the man would die. The demons are described in the Bhagavad Gita as duskritis, or miscreants. Kriti means very meritorious, but when dush is added, it means abominable. Instead of surrendering unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the duskritis worship different demigods to derive abominable material benefits. Sometimes such demons as material scientists discover lethal weapons. They cannot show their meritorious power by discovering something which can save man from death. Instead, they discover weapons which accelerate the process of death. Because Lord Shiva is powerful enough to give any benediction, the demon could have asked of him something beneficial for human society. But for his personal interest, he asked that anyone whose head would be touched by his hand would at once die. Lord Shiva could understand the motive of the demon, and he was very sorry that he had assured him whatever benediction he liked. He would not withdraw his promise, but he was very sorry that he was to offer him a benediction so dangerous to human society. The demons are described as duskritis, miscreants, because, although they have brain power and merit, the merit and brain power are used for abominable activities. Sometimes, for example, the materialistic demons discover a lethal weapon. The scientific research for such a discovery certainly requires a very good brain. But instead of discovering something beneficial to human society, they discover something to accelerate the death which is already assured to every man. Similarly, Vṛkāsura, instead of asking Lord Shiva for something beneficial to human society, asked for something very dangerous to human society. Therefore, Lord Shiva felt sorry within himself. Devotees of the personality of Godhead, however, never ask any benediction from Lord Vishnu or Krishna, and even if they ask something from the Lord, it is not at all dangerous for human society. That is the difference between the demons and the devotees, or the worshippers of Lord Shiva and the worshippers of Lord Vishnu. While Shukdev Goswami was narrating the history of Vṛkāsura, he addressed Maharaj Parikshit as Bharat, referring to King Parikshit's birth in a family of divinity. Maharaj Parikshit was saved by Lord Krishna while in his mother's womb. Similarly, he could have asked Lord Krishna to save him from the curse of the Brahmin, but he did not do so. The demon, however, wanted to become immortal by killing everyone with the touch of his hand. Lord Shiva could understand this, but because he had promised, he gave him the benediction. The demon, however, being very sinful, immediately decided that he would use the benediction to kill Lord Shiva and take away Gauri or Parvati, his wife, for his personal enjoyment. He immediately decided to place his hand on the head of Lord Shiva. Thus, Lord Shiva was put into an awkward position because he was endangered by his own benediction to a demon. This is also another instance of a materialistic devotees misusing the power derived from the demigod. Without further deliberation, the demon Vṛkāsura immediately approached Lord Shiva to place his hand on Lord Shiva's head. Lord Shiva was so afraid of him that his body trembled, and he fled from the land to the sky, and from the sky to other planets, until he reached the limits of the universe above the higher planetary systems. Lord Shiva fled from one place to another, but the demon Vṛkāsura continued to chase him. The predicting deities of other planets, such as Brahma, Indra, and Chandra, could not find any way to save Lord Shiva from the impending danger. Wherever Lord Shiva went, they remained silent. At last, Lord Shiva approached Lord Vishnu, who is situated within this universe in the planet known as Shvetadvip. Shvetadvip is the local Vaikuntha planet, beyond the jurisdiction of the influence of external energy. Lord Vishnu, in his all-pervasive feature, remains everywhere, but wherever he remains personally is the Vaikuntha atmosphere. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the Lord remains within the heart of all living entities. As such, the Lord remains in the heart of many low-born living entities, but that does not mean that he is low-born. Wherever he remains is transformed into Vaikuntha. So the planet within this universe, known as Shvetadvip, is also Vaikuntha Lok. It is said in the Shastras that residential quarters within the forest are in the mode of goodness. Residential quarters in big cities, towns, are in the mode of passion. And residential quarters in an atmosphere when indulgence in the four sinful activities of sex, intoxication, meat-eating, and gambling predominate are in the mode of ignorance. But residential quarters in a temple of Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, are in Vaikuntha. It doesn't matter where the temple is situated. The temple itself, wherever it may be, is Vaikuntha. Similarly, the Shvetadvip planet, although within the material jurisdiction, is Vaikuntha. Lord Shiva finally entered Shvetadvip, Vaikuntha. In Shvetadvip, there are great saintly persons who are completely freed from the envious nature of the material world and are beyond the jurisdiction of the four principles of material activity, namely religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. Anyone who enters into that Vaikuntha planet never returns to this material world. Lord Narayan is celebrated as a lover of his devotees. And as soon as he understood that Lord Shiva was in great danger, he appeared as a and personally approached Lord Shiva to receive him from a distant place. The Lord appeared as a perfect brahmachari, with a belt around his waist, a sacred thread, a deerskin, a brahmachari stick, and Rodra beads. Rodra beads are different from Tulsi beads. Rodra beads are used by the devotees of Lord Shiva. Dressed as a brahmachari, Lord Narayan stood before Lord Shiva. The shining effulgence emanating from his body attracted not only Lord Shiva, but also the demon Vṛkāsura. Lord Narayan offered his respects and obeisances unto Vṛkāsura, just to attract his sympathy and attention. Thus, checking the demon, the Lord addressed him as follows. My dear son of Shakuni, you appear very tired, as if coming from a very distant place. What is your purpose? Why have you come so far? I see that you are fatigued, so I request you to take a little rest. You should not unnecessarily tire your body. Everyone greatly values his body, because with this body only can all the desires of one's mind. We should not, therefore, unnecessarily give trouble to this body. The brahmachari addressed Vṛkāsura as the son of Shakuni, just to convince him that he was known to his father Shakuni. Vṛkāsura then took the brahmachari to be someone known to his family, and therefore the brahmachari's sympathetic words appealed to him. Before the demon could argue that he had no time to take rest, the Lord informed him about the importance of the body, and the demon was convinced. Any man, especially a demon, takes his body to be very important. Thus Vṛkāsura became convinced about the importance of his body. Then, just to pacify the demon, the brahmachari told him, My dear Lord, if you think you can disclose the mission for which you have taken the trouble to come here, maybe I shall be able to help you so that your purpose will be easily served. Indirectly, the Lord informed him that because the Lord is the supreme Brahman, he would certainly be able to adjust the awkward situation created by Lord Shiva. The demon was greatly pacified by the sweet words of Lord Narayan in the form of a brahmachari, and at last he disclosed all that had happened in regard to the benediction offered by Lord Shiva. The Lord replied to the demon as follows, I myself cannot believe that Lord Shiva has in truth given you such a benediction. As far as I know, Lord Shiva is not in a sane mental condition. He had a quarrel with his father-in-law Daksha, and he has been cursed to become a pisacha, or ghost. Thus he has become the leader of the ghosts and hobgoblins. Therefore, I cannot faith in his words, but if you still have faith in the words of Lord Shiva, my dear king of the demons, then why don't you make an experiment by putting your hand on your own head? If the benediction proves false, then you can immediately kill this liar, Lord Shiva, so that in the future he will not dare give out false benedictions. In this way, by Lord Narayan's sweet words, and by the expansion of his superior illusion, the demon became bewildered, and he actually forgot the power of Shiva and his benediction. He was thus very easily persuaded to put his hand on his own head. As soon as the demon did that, his head cracked, as if struck by thunder, and he immediately died. The demigods from heaven began to shower flowers on Lord Narayan, praising him with all glories and all thanksgiving, and they offered their obeisances to the Lord. On the death of Vṛkāsura, all the denizens in the higher planetary systems, namely the demigods, the Pitas, the Gandharvas, and the inhabitants of Janalok, showered flowers on the personality of Godhead. Thus Lord Vishnu, in the form of a brahmachari, released Lord Shiva from the impending danger and saved the whole situation. Lord Narayan then informed Lord Shiva that this demon, Vṛkāsura, was killed as a result of his sinful activities. He was especially sinful and offensive because he wanted to experiment on his own master, Lord Shiva. Lord Narayan then told Lord Shiva, "My dear Lord, a person who commits an offense to great souls cannot continue to exist. He is vanquished by his own sinful activities. And this is certainly true of this demon who has committed such an offensive act against you." Thus, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, who is transcendental to all material qualities, Lord Shiva was saved from being killed by a demon. Anyone who hears this history with faith and devotion is certainly liberated from material entanglement, as well as from the clutches of his enemies. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the third volume, 19th chapter of Krishna, deliverance of Lord Shiva.
श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। हरि हरि बोल।